me share my screen. Okay, so this afternoon, I want to talk about hold on one second. There we go. So the crucial thing I want you guys to understand is modules and packages, because we're going to be dealing with modules and packages pretty much for the rest of the course. So I'm going to do a brief sort of demo on that, and then I want to do a longer demo that's sort of going to encapsulate everything that we've done up to this point, including modules and packages. So let's go there first. All right, so anybody who's done the reading, what is a module?
Basically, like having two classes in different spots or different files.
Right. Basically, a module is any, I should capitalize Python file. Any Python file can be a module. Okay. So what is a package?
A file containing two Python files?
Good. A file containing,
or multiple?
I could say, yeah, we could say, let's say one or more Python modules. Cool. So I have a module called my module. Actually, let me do this live. Okay, I have a module called module, and I want to put some code in here, right? So I'm going to say I have a function called best function, and it just prints, hi mom, and take the F off for prints. So here, this is my module, and it's just a Python file, right? So I can save the file, open it, run it just like it's regular Python file. So let me invoke the function so it does something. And if I say Python module, run it, I get hi mom, right? But the module system in Python allows us to basically keep our code separate. So instead of having all our code in one long file, this allows us to separate our code into more manageable pieces. Web applications, like I think Facebook is like 20,000 lines of code, something outrageous like that. And I'm probably underestimating it. So there's no way we could manage a piece of software where all 20,000 lines of code are in a single packet or a single file. So to keep things separate and make it easier to work on teams and easier to manage the code base, we separate our code into separate files and directories. Okay, so if I want to use my best function in my app.py, how do I do that? How do I connect the two?
Import it.
And what is the syntax for that?
Simply import.
Import.
File name.
Okay, which is module, right?
Yes.
Cool. So now, how do I use my best function?
Well, you can just run it.
Would you just type it?
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's see what happens. So let's run app.py. And I get hi mom. Easy, right? What if I don't invoke it in the file though? What if I just leave it like this? So now if I run the code,
You need to put best function in.
I'm sorry?
Wouldn't you need to put it in the app file then if you're not going to run it in the other one?
So do I just say best function like that?
Apparently not, I guess.
Yeah, we get the big warning, right? So if I run this, it's not going to work, right? So I get name error, best function not defined. So what am I missing?
The function itself, the def best function.
Right. Yeah. So if I want to be, but this is still like, the idea is like, I have my best function and I have, def, my other function, right? That says, I don't know, print hello from the module. Right. So the idea is I want to keep my code separate. I want to keep my functions that are related to whatever they do packaged together in an organized module, right? But I want to be able to call them in here. So in order to call them inside here, I need to include what's called the namespace. So the module is the namespace. Okay, so to prevent like if I had another function called best function somewhere in my code, Python lets me keep these separate from each other. So in order to call this function, I need to acknowledge its namespace. So I need to say module dot best function. Okay. So now if I run this, I get hi mom. And to be able to use my other function, I would say module dot my other function. Okay.
Yep.
So this is one form of the import syntax. There's another one you'll see, which is probably more common. I can say from module import, and I can say my best function. So now I can comment this out. And now
so then
go ahead.
You're just going to be importing just that function?
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I think I can leave this. I don't want to do that. Let's leave that out. So I'm going to comment this out for now. And now I don't need to namespace it. So now it's yelling at me that I'm saying module dot. So if I explicitly say where the function's coming from and I name it, I can just do this, just as if I had defined the function in the same file. So now when I run this, I get hi mom. So what this does, this line 3 is basically equivalent to me copying and pasting this function into this file. Okay. Jesse, you still have a question?
Yeah. So from module, that's the name of the file that you're pulling from, right? You don't have to do from module.py or anything like that to further.
No. Verify. So Python knows that you're going to be importing from a Python module, so you can leave off the .py. And actually, I think you have to leave off the .py. So you don't.
Okay.
Yeah, it said they got to be in the same folder in order for it to work.
Yes, they do.
Really?
They do. Yeah.
That's what I'm missing. All right.
When we get to packages, we'll talk about how we can put them in separate folders.
So how often do you see the from module import? Like which one would you rather us do, just straight import best function and then do the module dot best function, or do the from?
I personally see this more frequently than I see this.
Okay.
Because to me, this is, unless you have a specific reason to use the namespace, I think this is cleaner, right? Because then otherwise, every place you use the function, you got to say module dot whatever function is, module dot, So yeah, this is a little bit better. Now, if I want to use my other function, how do I get to it? Because if I try it, I say my other function, it doesn't even autocomplete for me. My other func.
You'd have to import the other function.
Right. So since they're coming from the same module, I can just say comma my other function.
Okay.
You can like chain a bunch of functions that way then.
Yeah, I can whatever I
Okay.
want to import from that module, whatever I need, I can sort of pick and choose and just list them up here.
And that doesn't print it. You still have to print it out on like line 8 and 5, right?
I'm sorry, say again.
Like just by putting it there, that doesn't print anything out or invoke anything. You still have to like use like line 5 and 8 to actually.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So unless I were to invoke the functions in this file, they won't run. Right. It's basically like I talked about, it's a loaded gun ready for you to pull the trigger. So this is just sort of giving us access to our code when we need it. So yeah, to get it to run, it's got to be invoked. Right there. So if I run the file and we get both of them.
Would it be better to just invoke it in its own, like in the module, instead of invoking it in the app?
No, because you usually write a function to invoke it when it's needed. So like we may have a conditional statement in here that's going to invoke best function when some condition is met and invoke the other function when another condition is met. So it's best to just import the function and then invoke it when it's needed.
Got it.
Yeah. Tim.
Is it safe to say that invoking the functions using a namespace is probably going to use a little bit more memory generally versus just targeting each one through
so I don't think so. I don't think using the namespace takes any more memory. Not that I can think of. What you might be thinking of is there's another syntax that will do, you could just do this, which just says whatever's in this module, import it, right? This isn't a good practice because you have to use your imagination, right? Usually the modules are going to have 10, 20, 30 functions in them. So if I just import everything, it's the same, it's really kind of defeats the purpose of having a module because it's the same thing as basically cutting everything in this file and pasting it right here. So most Python programmers will just import the functions they need. So they'll just say best function, comma, my other function. And then that way, the other stuff that's in here, if it's not needed, it just stays in place. So def, the other useless function gets left behind. And I misspelled useless. Whatever. Okay. Cool. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Let's talk about packages. So I have my file here. Oh, and this PyCache is what Python uses to keep track of what's being imported. So this is just something that's automatically generated. And the code in this file, is it bytecode?
Yes.
Yeah. So this, you can throw this away and it'll just regenerate. This is just how Python uses memory more efficiently. So we don't define that. That just sort of appears when you're using modules. So if I want to make a package, how would I do that? So remember, a package is just a regular old directory, right? Well, sort of. I mean, it's a directory where we're going to keep our modules.
You just make a file name.
Yeah. So I'm just going to make a new folder. I'm going to call it my package, right? And then I'm going to move my module in here. Okay. So now, close this. Now I'm getting a warning. So why am I getting a warning?
File's been separated.
Yeah. So it doesn't know what module is. It's saying, what are you talking about? Where's your module, right? So what do I need to change in the import statement?
Ooh.
Your package name,
Yeah, I got to tell it where it is, right?
Okay.
So I've got to say my package dot module.
Okay.
So this is telling it, I want you to look in this same directory. I mean, normally Python's a little bit weird and kind of cuts off some of the stuff that other languages use. But It's saying, so there's in this directory where my app.py is, there's a package. I want you to look in there for a module called module and import the best function and another function. Okay, so now I've given it the path to where my code is. And if I run it, it says, hi mom and hello from module. Okay, so prior to Python, I don't remember the version, but when we defined a package, we had to include, and this is still common practice. It's not required, but it's done. Tim, what's up?
I was just going to clarify. So you put packages inside modules, right?
Other way around. You put
modules inside packages?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So my package is here. And see the PyCache gets automatically created. Now, it's used to be, in order to signify to Python that we had a package, we had to include a file called dunder init. And people will still include this file because they can do other things with it. So as soon as the package gets initiated, the dunder init file will run. So people actually will put code in it that they want to run every time their package is created. So it's common practice, even though it's not needed, people will still include the dunder init file. So it's just dunder init.py. And then we're actually going to use this when we get to Flask. We're going to be putting code in our dunder init file. It's not required to make a package anymore, but it's kind of a holdover from older versions of Python, but people still use it because I can say print my pkg ran, right? And there's other things we'll put in here when we get to Flask, but now when I do this and run the code, I get my package ran, and then I get my function calls.
So for creating packages, the int is not required, but it is required when we deal with Flask.
We use it when so the Coding Dojo curriculum utilizes our dunder init file because it kind of makes it easy to put things that there's no other place for, kind of. But it's very common. It's common to people will still use this file, and some people still think it's required. But it's, like I say, it's just kind of a holdover from older versions, but it is useful to have like all of everything in one place. Like I put, I think they put this like secret keys and stuff like that you can put in the dunder init. That way it's easier to access from other locations. And you'll see when we get to Flask how it's useful.
Okay.
Any other questions about modules, packages? Okay. There's one more thing I want to talk about, and I'm kind of reluctant to talk about it because I'm afraid I'm going to lose you. But I'm going to give it the old college try. Let's see what we can do. So I'm going to say there's a special keyword, print. Oops. I'm going to print a dunder name. Okay, so when I run a file directly from the terminal, okay, the dunder name, the value of dunder name is going to change based on whether a file is run directly from the terminal or if it's run from a module. Okay, so when I run this code, when I run app.py, dunder name is equal to dunder main. Okay, so even though my file is called app.py, when I run that file directly, the dunder name version gets assigned the string dunder main. Okay, now when I put that same print statement in here in my module, and let me comment it out here so we don't get confused. The wrong thing, there we go. And why didn't it run? Oh, there it
Didn't
is.
save
Yeah.
the file.
I'm sorry. No, it's not there.
You didn't save the file.
Thank you. Oh, thanks. Okay, learn it again. There we go. So when it's run in, when a file is run indirectly as a module, it takes on the name of the module. So it's mypackage.module. That's the Dunder name. Okay, so we're going to often see things like, and actually we'll see it every day when we get to Flask. It'll say if Dunder name equals Dunder main, and do something like we'll say, I'm just gonna make a file call or a function called test and say it ran. Okay, so if I put or invoke the test function in here, it's only going to run the test function if I run app.py directly in the terminal. So if I run this, it'll say it ran. Okay. Questions about this? I'm afraid I lost you. Does it make some sense?
I guess like what would be the first thing that comes to your head as far as like an application of this?
Yeah. So this is basically, this will make sure that it will only run the code if the file is run directly. So it'll make sure that if it's called some other way, that if it's called as a module in another file, it doesn't run. So this is just sort of a check to make sure that the file is called directly. I'm sorry?
It's like a guarantee that you pull from the module.py file.
It's a guarantee that, yeah, so it's a guarantee that this is being run directly and not indirectly as part of another module.
So is the app the parent to module?
Is it the parent?
Or is like module the parent to app?
I don't think there's a parent-child relationship. I think it's just that the module and the package is a way of compartmentalizing code, keeping everything separate. It's called modularization. So we're modularizing, which is a hard term to say. We're keeping our code in separate places, so it's easier to manage and easier to maintain. So we know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
So somehow this is connecting app to module.
The Dunder name is not. So this is just when we basically what we're going to be doing is when we create a Flask application, we're going to have to tell our Flask application where to look. Okay, so we're going to make the code we write is going to be app dot. Wait, now I'm forgetting it.
Wait, if app is using if app has the Dunder name, shouldn't we be testing the def test in module?
Yes, good point. Good. So let me copy this. Let me copy test 2. Okay, so I put this same statement in the module.py, right? So I have my test and I'm going to change this so we can tell where it's coming from. I'm going to say it ran in the module. Okay, so if I run app.py, right? If I just say Python app.py, what do we expect to see? And let me comment everything else out so we don't get confused. Let me comment these function calls out. So if I run app.py, should I see it ran or should I see it ran in the module?
It ran in the module?
In app.py?
Yeah, so if I say, I've got my code here, I say Python and I'm running the file app.py, right? So now I'm saying the conditional, if Dunder name equals Dunder main, invoke test. And I'm doing the same thing in here. If dunder name equals dunder main, invoke test. So we're either going to see it ran in the module or just it ran.
But
So
we're
if I
not going
run,
to see both.
or we could see both. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
let
feel
me
like
run
we're
it.
going to see both.
You think we're going to see both?
I
Yeah.
think it's
Okay.
going to show it ran.
So it shows it ran.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah,
now
I think it just ran.
if I go, let me see where I'm.
That's what you
If I
ran.
cd into my package and I run Python module.py, I see it ran in the module. So the only way dunder name is equal to dunder main is if the file is run directly in the terminal or directly in from the system.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's where the confusion coming from because you put it in both. So so which one actually is named main? Is it app or is it module?
Whichever one runs from the terminal is called main.
Whichever one's wrong. Wait.
Okay, so here, let me do it again. So I'm in the terminal. Let me clear out so you guys can see. So I'm inside of my file module packages, and I'm inside of my package. So let me show you the file structure. So I've got module packages, and I've got my package where module is, right? So I'm inside that. I'm in the right place. I'm saying Python, and I'm running module.py. Okay. If I run that, whoops, I see it ran in the module, and I see dunder main.
No, I get that. I'm talking about, okay, so you were showing us the name function. Because you were showing us the name function, which file was that specific for? Were you trying to show us that app name is main or module name is main? Because you put it in both now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So when I run the module.py, dunder name is equal to main because that's the file that runs from the terminal. Okay, so if I go back to, where am I? If I cd dot, let's put me back in there. Yeah, so now I'm back in my main directory. Now if I run Python app.py, and let me clear this out so you can see. If I run Python app.py, now I'm running this file directly from the terminal. So what should I see? Should I see it ran in the module, or should I see it ran?
I'm not even trying to go that far. I'm just trying to figure out who is the name specifically for.
The dunder name?
Yes.
So I guess the point I'm trying to get at, and I'm probably confusing you, and it's probably
because you put it in both now. So I thought the purpose of it is to show a specific, to use a specific dunder name from another file and executing or invoking something in the next file, but you put it in both now. So I'm trying to figure out who was it assigned to in the first place.
Okay, so now I'm printing dunder name here, right? So when I call this, like when I'm importing my package, it's printing dunder name here, right? And I'm testing to see if dunder name is equal to dunder main. So let me just run this and see what we get. So when I run this file, module.py, indirectly, right? It's a module that's being imported to another file. Its dunder name gets assigned the file name.
Okay.
So this print statement right here is printing my package.module.
Okay.
The file I ran directly from the terminal, because I ran it directly from the terminal, dunder name gets assigned to dunder main, and I didn't print it. Let me run it again. So let me print dunder name. Okay, so we'll try it again. Okay, so I get this print statement is this. This print statement is this. Okay, so this is basically just Python's way of saying dunder name, when the file is run from the terminal, dunder name will be assigned the string dunder main. Okay, if you're lost beyond that, then don't worry about it, because
No, I just wanted to know who was it attached to, because you put it on both.
Yeah. So
so main is app's name. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. Everybody's kind of sort of.
Main is only app's name because you're running app, right? So if you were to switch this and run module, then the names would flip and module would be main.
Exactly. So when we make our when we make our Flask applications, we are going to pass this as an argument to Flask. And what I'm just trying to get at, and it's probably not that crucial, we're going to be telling our Flask app to look in dunder name, right? Which is just signifies the file that's running. Okay. If you're confused by this, I just want to move on, because it's not that important of an issue. I'm trying to explain it, and I'm probably not.
Okay. So like when it runs, you're literally just saying, hey, where'd you run from? So we can tell Flask where you're running from.
You probably said it better than I have in the last 20 minutes. Perfect. That's exactly right. So please say that again.
Oh,
if you could.
So when one of these packages runs, it's going to communicate with Flask, and Flask is like, okay, where are you running from?
Mm-hmm.
So that I can, I guess, do important things later.
Exactly. It's like where you're going to be telling Flask, where do you look for everything? Where are you going to look for your data? And we're saying, look here, look at whichever file is running. Okay. All right. Let me stop and restart.